Hi, this is Dr. Johnny Liu from Doctor's Choice, and today we're going to talk about some pricing differences for the same procedure at different facilities. So healthcare is interesting because it's one of the only industries where you go and you purchase a product or service and you're not told the price, and then you're billed afterwards for the price, and the person who's oftentimes giving you the service or the product doesn't know the price. And not only are you getting billed, but a lot of times there are all these subsequent billings that come afterwards that feel like death by 1,000 paper cuts. So recently, I had somebody talk to me about potentially needing a procedure. And he got injured. It was a sports injury. He was a young guy. He hurt his knee. And he said, I think I might need an MRI. And I said, well, you should really go see somebody to see if you do need an MRI, or maybe you need some PT, just let it recover. He goes, I don't know. I went to an orthopedic person. They said I might have a torn meniscus, which can be painful. And if I don't deal with it, I might get these clicks and so forth, and loss of mobility. So he goes, I really want an MRI. He goes, and I went to the hospital, and the hospital quoted me $2,000 for the MRI. And I don't really have the money to pay for $2,000 for an MRI, and he didn't have insurance. Even if he did have insurance, it was, if he had one of these Affordable Care Act plans, which ironically can be pretty unaffordable if you are above even a basic income grade. If you're over $50,000, you're going to have a deductible. If you're making over $50,000, in this case, his plan was going to cost somewhere around $200 a month, so about a little over $2,000 a year, and then he's going to have roughly a $6,000 deductible. So a $2,000 MRI is going to be within his deductible, which means he's got to pay that out of pocket. So he didn't have $2,000 to pay. So he goes, I'm just going to kind of sit on it. I said, well, why don't you call around? Why don't you call around and see if you can have maybe an outpatient facility do the MRI at a lower cost? Because I knew a friend who was in South Carolina. He had a concierge practice. He bought his own MRI machine, and he charges patients somewhere around $500 for the MRI. Includes reading it and everything. So it's a fraction of what the hospitals would charge. And I've seen hospitals charge $4,000 or $5,000 for a MRI, and it's oftentimes the same type of machine. It's an MRI. You go in and you get it read, and oftentimes there's not that much variance between going from a outpatient center to a hospital. Again, same service, same machines, relatively the same machines, and so forth. So he goes, well, I never thought about that. And it's like, it can't be too much different, right? In this day and age, even if I'm shopping for cars, everything's online. Maybe it's $100 difference, $200 difference. I still can't afford it. So no, just call around. Call 5-6 places and see what you can find. And later on, he just gave me a text. And actually, I'll read the text just for dramatic effect here. He said, really appreciate your help. After being quoted $2,000, I didn't even try to look for something that's more affordable because I didn't think there could be that big of a price gap. I was able to find a really well-priced MRI at a reputable center for just $300. So even less than what my friend was charging up in South Carolina. So in this case, he's gonna, $300 is affordable. He's gonna get the MRI, he's gonna get it read, he's gonna be able to figure out if he needs a procedure. And if you look at the procedures, same thing, hospital versus outpatient centers and different outpatient centers. Just getting some prices from around, really around the country here. In this case, somebody has kidney stone surgery, and he said the hospital was quoting him $40,000, and the outpatient standalone surgical center was just $28,000. Still a hefty amount. If he has insurance, it's going to hit the deductible no matter what, but a huge difference, almost a 100% difference between two facilities for the same exact procedure. So in healthcare, pricing is a huge issue. We need to address it. But if you're in a situation where it's you don't have negotiating power. What you do have is the power to look around, shop around, and see if you can get a better bet. Because in this case, $2,000 versus $300 is a huge difference.